Welcome. I would like to talk about a just a curiosity that I've been pondering, which brings to mind immediately an exchange I had on Reddit where I posted angles of Mount Gurnar. Let me just pull it up. Angles of Mount Gurnar. And I literally images. This will bring it up. And set angles of Mount Gurnar, period. Cause. Notice if I click this. Removed by moderators. When literally this is what I said. I said more obviously I said more. This person responded kindly. Basically saying erosion, usual jointing. Look at this. I'm showing exact angles. I wish I could flip through them, but I cannot. It's kind of crappy that way. I can't click it to make it larger. I can do this, I guess. I'm showing exact angles. I know it's a little suspect in some ways, but like this, that's 45 degrees. That's 45 degrees. That's 45 degrees. That's not 60, but it's pretty close. That's 60. That's 90. This is 60. 90, 30. And, this is the geology Reddit. That's what happened. This is the geology subreddit. We don't do that here. We don't ask questions here that we don't already have answers to. We pretend like we have all the answers. That's what we do. Okay? Okay? So, erosion, that's good. This person, though, said some shit. It started slandering me. He was like, let me explain. This person's a pseudoscientist. This is my interpretation, just based on the post. Literally based on this. I mean, and then it comes out later on that I have research. So because I have research, I'm a confirmed pseudoscientist. It's absurd. So this way of operation I point to in this discussion, I'm like, by the way, sometimes a post seems rather pseudoscientist, this person says. Therefore, getting mostly dove vibes or negative comments, ... The fucking arrogance of the person, not this person, the other person. And then the thing is that, let me explain, this person agrees with the first person who deleted their comment. Basically, these angles still matter. This person's just fucking ridiculous, and don't speak to them. Don't talk to them. Don't communicate. Don't entertain their curiosities. Essentially, that's what I'm getting at, because what I'm going to explain here is even more absurd. Of a curiosity, it's just idle thought, really. Why not entertain it? What, we got something else to do? We figured it out already. My apologies. Oh wait, we didn't. So we're still figuring out. Okay, then let's entertain some fucking idle thought. That's how I feel. So now back to the regularly scheduled program. The Nadir crater, recently discovered off the coast of Africa. Here, southwestern tip, exactly at a corner of the continental shelf. And It's real interesting. This, I think I talked about this. I did talk about this. I talked about this in my last video somewhat. I was just thinking, like, I talked about this, right? But where the hell did I talk about this? I just recorded an hour, or I thought I recorded. I did not actually record. I started recording, and I was like, wait, I'll start again in like 5 minutes after I do this, and then I never started again, but I thought I was still recording it. But I was just so in short, I believe this is not an impact. So the hypothesis is that a extraterrestrial object hit the Earth here and caused this crater, and that this down here is an artifact, which I've been looking into, and I'm finding this is a common thing for geologists to do, which I don't understand because it's a little unreasonable to be like, okay, this is an artifact. This is 5 kilometers below the ground. You're telling me, even though the data shows a hump, you're gonna say it's an artifact just by default because of some like decided upon. And then I was reading this article. Let me see if I can find it. This one. Let's see if I can find. Here we go. They point to this. I'm like, dude, this is a fucking, like, if you look at this, like, here's a hump up. So they're saying this is real, but this isn't? Why the fuck would you say that? I mean, just based on the surroundings, like, the only reason you would say that is because you believe that this formed by an impact and that the physics does not possibly explain this. And so this is not real. I mean, it seems to be like that's what's going on. I believe. I might be mistaken, but let's read what they say. And he says, or they say, curvature data showing structural fabric generated at depth by velocity contrasts above the time slice in between carbonate buildups and evolving siliclastic units of Browse Basin, northwest Australia. The significance of the imaged subcircular fabric is further increased when they are observed in regions where real faults bound the continental shelf. That's further evidence of what I'm saying, actually, that this is real and that it's more pronounced when it's along the edge of continental shelf because it allows for a greater flow of energy that is just more physically visible in the subterranean view of Earth. I mean, why are we just assuming this is a artifact? And so, like, I was reading the abstract of this, and they say that's where it is. I was trying to find where they said this. Like, seismic attributes are routinely used to accelerate and quantify the interpretation of tectonic features in 3D seismic data. Coherence or variance cubes delineate the edges of megablocks and faulted strata. I'm not sure what that means. Cubes delineate. Curvature delineates folds and flexures, while spectral components delineate lateral changes in thickness and lithology. Seismic attributes are at their best in extracting subtle and easy to overlook features on high quality seismic data. However, seismic attributes can also exacerbate otherwise subtle effects such as acquisition footprint and velocity pull up, push down. as well as small processing and velocity errors in seismic imaging. As a result, the chance that an interpreter will suffer a pitfall is inversely proportional to his or her experience. This to me is just telling evidence that they have a way of doing it where they've said, okay, any experienced person will write off the evidence, and an inexperienced person will interpret it to be real. And this is a problem, a pitfall of this approach, because we commonly run into these artifacts because we're just unable to explain them, so we go ahead and say they are artifacts. This is saying it is an artifact. This is not real. This is not actually what's happening. Even for depth migrated data, spectral decomposition will provide spectra that are measured in apparent vertical frequency rather than in the true frequency perpendicular to the reflector of interest. This pitfall was first brought, I think this is where, I thought this is where it never, this is not where they talk about it, that I thought. Is it here? They're basically saying it's not true. The word true. Where's the word? But not there it is. There it is. In the case of overlying carbonate reefs and shale-filled channels, velocity pull-up and push-down give rise to apparent curvature anomalies that correctly represent the inaccurately imaged data, but not the true structure. Like, dude, we got fucking data showing this structure, and you're gonna say that's not what it is. Dude, what was their basis? This is so absurd. I mean, it's highly suspect. So anyway, I don't want to get too deeply ingrained in this, but what drew my attention to it in the first, what drew my attention was this, and even here, like it's not just here, like it's literally the whole. Like, oh, if you look over here, these grains are sideways, these are vertical relatively all the way through. I mean, you're gonna say all this shit is just straight up artifact and ignore it and write it off as fucking unreal just because we fucking, like, how? That to me is very alarming, but also promising, because it shows that we've been missing these things because we wrote them off. That's not true. There's nothing there. The comets can't do that. An impact would only make a crater 700 meters, or like it's barely this. It wouldn't. I mean, this is fine. I guess we'll accept it because that's what we say. But over here, like it's not real. That was weird. Felt like there was like tapping. Sometimes I can hear weird sounds here. Ah, I'm afraid. So, okay, back to what I was saying. So I believe the truth is that this is real. This exists, and the explanation for it is because this is not caused whatsoever by a impact from space, but instead it's caused by an emission from the Earth, which is, it just pushes up, and then literally the emission from the Earth, it doesn't just like cause a mound, it physically exited the Earth. So this is where we start entering into the supposed pseudoscience, when it's really just curious ponderings at this stage, but also because I see that there are actually reasons to like video it. I'm just gonna video it. The process, that was my thought. Like, it seems like maybe I'll find some stuff, so I'll just share the process here. So they say, this article, the Nadir impact, which we estimate at around 400 meters in diameter, is equivalent to the size of the Bennu asteroid. Etc. Which just like idle thought. That would be crazy if that was what was emitted. Wouldn't that be crazy? This kind of just, and then I moved on, and it's been like, it must be my chair. It's been like a few days, maybe a week since I had that thought, and it keeps coming back to mind. And now, today, I decided just to look at the Wikipedia article about it and see what it had to say. The fuck is going on? There must be some shit going on outside. Which is when I saw, where is it? This raised my interest exponentially. Because my thought is that effectively the sun is the nucleus of the solar system atom, and the planets are electrons on some level, some dimension of reality. An observer composed of solar systems as their building blocks would see them as atoms, and they would see our solar system as an atom, and they would see the mechanics occurring as those of an atom. And I talk about this in a lot of places, like with regard especially to Earth's the solar system factory concept, where effectively Earth becomes Mars when Mercury supernovas and causes Venus, basically Mercury supernovas, which is Judgment Day, causes Venus to move to become Earth, causes Mercury to become Venus. Earth becomes Mars. And in a way, it's like an excited electron. It moves all the electrons up, and then later on, the sun emits a new Vulcan, comes out of the sun. Planet Vulcan within the sun comes out of the sun as the new Mercury. This concept, I know I sound insane, but the evidence is overwhelming. Literally, that's insane. That there is evidence for it is insane. But so, back to this. If Earth is also an atom, maybe it has, that's my thoughts, almost guaranteed. I'm fairly certain this is a solid assessment. It has electrons that can become excited and these, like, that's why it's at the edge. Like, it's almost like the bond is being broken, and in the breaking of the bond, it's emitting a photon by the electron excitement process. So, like, when this occurred is also when South America and Africa were moving apart, and so maybe the bond broke, holding the two together. Like, there was a tethered energy between them that was at nodes, which is why these craters like Chicxulub and Nadir crater and Shiva crater and Chesapeake Bay crater and Tom's Canyon and this one, Montagne. So I was looking, like, here's three craters. One here, right at a bend, which I've been looking at bends. Here's a bend crater. And then here's another crater. And mind you, 51, 35. So this is the kind of time frame when Chicxulub happened, and maybe so, like, maybe that was the beginning or around the beginning. Like, Shiva crater also was one of them, of the breaking of the bonds that was holding, like, tethers between the continents as the pressure pushed magma into the, just started pushing the continents, and at some point it reached like the tethers broke and it freely expanded to its new radius, maybe something of that nature, where this is effectively the result. And then we see a crater here. This one's a little off the coast. It's not so, like, right at the edge, because these are like at the edge. Nadir crater, wherever. This one's at the edge. I think it's like, I don't know exactly if it's here or what. Somewhere here. Because they show it here. Nadir seamount. Maybe this is the seamount and the crater. Oh, I see. There it is. I did not see this arrow until not just now. I kept pointing here. I literally thought it was there. It's here. That's still right there. Chicxulub, similarly. I mean, then that puts them more feasibly able to be a little off the coast, maybe, for some reason. Maybe dependent on various things. I don't know. I don't want to make it, like, too open to, like, oh, here's a crater here, too. Like, really on the coast would be as optimal as possible. So this, I mean, it's a little further off the coast. How far off the coast is it now? Maybe like a good, like, off of this. I'm not sure. Is the continental shelf? It's probably only like 50 kilometers off. It's really pretty solid position to be the same. It's not quite as good as there, though. I really thought it was there, like where the words were. And now I see the arrow in the box. Open your eyes, dude. Fucking ridiculous. That's what happens when I don't look that close at everything. I miss details. Sure, it happens. It doesn't mean I'm not, like, generally on the right track, guys. What was I saying? So this was on the coast. That's on the coast. But they're also all, like, in that time frame, because if the Earth expanded, and also it was due to a vortex weapon used on ancient Dwarka, which caused the Earth to radioactively decay and paint the picture of hundreds of millions of years passing. But still, Chicxulub was a major, like, step, or like, it was at a major point in the sequence where all of these things happened simultaneously. I mean, Shiva crater, Gurnar, Chicxulub, the other crater, Boltish crater. I mean, Deccan traps. At some point, like, there's too many things simultaneous to not say there's a good chance they're all related. Or at least many of them, but more so all related. Like, if there's like many things at the same time, like, you know, because right now the way we say it is it's all Chicxulub, pretty much is all Chicxulub. Now we're like, well, Shiva crater maybe also is actually first and also bigger, so maybe Shiva crater had something to do with it. But now maybe the Nadir crater had something to do with it. But so now we're like opening the door to more possible, like, uh, actors in the play of how the Earth functions, so that they're all doing it. I guess I need to get to that stage mentally in my own viewpoint. Pardon me, everyone. Like, is that what's going on? Fuck, man. You guys are all like, it's literally like a bunch of awakened monks all working together to wake my dumb ass up. Trying to wake the world up now, dude. You are asleep. We got you. They'll follow after you fucking dumbass wake up. They'll see you wake up, be like, oh damn. Good thing we didn't follow him off that cliff. Whatever the fuck. I really hope that happens. Like, there is a truly awakened collective that stages everything for the unawakened so that everyone is innocent. And they're just truly playing, like, with children at that stage because of their, like, sheer awakeness. I wish that was what was happening, guys. Is that what's happening? Please. Now I'm back to the reality of the situation. I just Justin Trudeau pops in my head. I'm like, is he doing that? Is Joe Biden? Are they just fucking such awakened monks that they're guiding my process of awakening like that? Like, that would be deep, dudes. But you know, it's highly probable that's not the case based on observation. So then I come back to the reality of the situation where it's probably through layers of, like, through a future self. So, like, our present self is totally unaware of the things that their future self is doing through them, myself included. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe you guys are like, dude, stop fucking, like, speaking to me in those ways where you're like saying that you're hearing my thoughts real fucking clear as day. It's just ringing bells in my head. Stop it. Like, say that to someone right after bells are in their head. Like, oh my god, what the fuck? See, I didn't have anything to do with it, but it happened because that's how things work, maybe. I don't know. I was kidding. Or it didn't happen, and someone's just like, dude, you wish, bruh. You wish, bruh. Okay. So, back to what I was getting at, maybe. Is maybe these asteroids, like, look at this. What are the odds this asteroid follows the trajectory of Earth pretty substantially, and then, interestingly, goes out to a distance where it just precisely overlaps the orbit of the next electron? in a way where it's like a photon being exchanged between electrons. Like, what if Bennu actually at some point merges with Mars? I don't know if its trajectory has any potential of that. I mean, it really has much more likelihood of maybe approaching Earth since it's overlaps so much. Really, it's only here and here where it has any potential of connecting. But maybe if it got close enough while Mars is also around here, it could pull it so that it like restabilizes, so that it's like switching to a Mars focused orbit rather than an Earth focused orbit, and then merge with Mars, hit Mars, combine with Mars, and cause a change in Mars where it's like an electron being absorbed into the planet. So I started to think about that, and like, this image does not say it's not like that. I mean, it certainly raises some, and if it is, like, if we like suppose that this is a macroscopic version of a photon, just suppose it and then begin to look into it from that angle and just see, is there anything to this? Like, this certainly doesn't go against it. I would go so far as to say it's enough that I started making this video. Like, it kind of maybe. And so, like, what if this is a photon? I started reading this also. I started reading this a bit. Let's see what it is. I understand also that this is Wikipedia, but it's also a good general source to, like, get a starting point. People act, this is maybe a good place to mention that no source is like the the source for something, and because every source is like part, if you study a subject where, I think this would be a good approach, rather than like reading a physics book, you read many physics books, especially ones from a wide range of unrelated authors who are not using the same source material as much as possible. Obviously, there's going to be overlap of Newton and Newton and Newton and Newton, because that's the truth of the matter. But, like, there's not going to necessarily be almost identical approaches of the chapters and the examples and the things that they bring up. Like, one physics book might bring up Bennu just in a chapter. Like, here you go, check out this asteroid and let's talk about it a little bit. And then, I mean, they're not all gonna do that, but like, so it always adds to expose to different sources. So it's not like it's important to be aware of that when researching things like this, because people will judge me. Like, I'll link a Wikipedia article and immediately up, or it's worse, have it in a video. Oh my god, he's using Wikipedia. It's still a pretty good starting point because it's written generally as much as possible for the layman. At least, like, sure, it's gonna have this, but it's gonna have links. It's gonna be like this. Like, I can mouse over, be like, what's it gotta say? Here, I'm carbonaceous. I mean, I didn't know they differentiated asteroids to be C-type asteroids forming 70, like, volatile rich, which is interesting. Volatile rich, like a volcano is filled with volatiles moving things upward, so that it is volatile rich is back to the photon idea, back to the emission from Earth idea, where it effectively is a photon. It doesn't go against it, and it certainly provides a degree of supporting evidence, a degree of, I want to be like, proof. But I'm just saying that's how it is it's a degree of supporting evidence, volatile rich. Okay, so that would suggest maybe it is an emission from a source distinguished by a very low albedo, because their composition includes a large amount of carbon. Let's go here. Albedo, measure of diffuse reflection of solar radiation out of the total solar radiation. Measure of diffuse. So it's very low reflectivity of sunlight. Okay. Let's think about that for a second. Is that photon-like? Like if a photon I don't know. I don't know enough to think about that deeply. Although it could be one of those instances where it points in a direction to subtleties that I am not able to think of off the top of my head. Especially now without just further investigation and coming back to it and maybe like having a clearer picture, because that's a big thing. Having a clearer picture of what's going on, getting more like more points to like rest, wait on, to have a more solid, stable ground to stand on in our understanding. And I'm more in a more diffuse, kind of like this asteroid actually, which is interesting. Okay, let's keep going. Apollo group. Ooh. These could all be emissions from Earth when it expanded. That would be fucking epic if there's like a group of asteroids that all have similar orbits. Because there were many of these like impacts. I don't want to look too deeply into this. Maybe there's Bennu, so let's see another named one. Do any of these have names? And then just see. I just want to see if I can find its travel path. Sun, Earth, and Jupiter. Very close to Earth. Very close to Earth. Unable to tell if it was close to Mars. Oh, this one goes out far. Photon. Oh my god. This one doesn't seem necessarily, although it'd be crazy if like there's some of them that have larger outward orbits that are like Chicxulub sized impact objects. Shiva crater size, like, and only the ones that are the like biggest impacts also are these ones that go out the most off of our Earth's orbit, and the less massive ones stay more like right overlapping it for like the Nadir or the Bennu one. Not to say that that's necessarily what's happening. I'm just hypothesizing, supposing, whatever word. I know scientists are like, oh, you need to make sure you understand what a theory is. A theory is established. We've only the things we say are theories are theories. Dude, what are you guys on? You know how much weed I smoke? And I'm sitting here saying, what the fuck are you on? This one's much more like Bennu. Much more like Bennu. That's Mars, yup. Much more like Bennu. I'd be curious. There's a lot of information. To like really research this, I'd have to look at all these comets, asteroids, whatever, all these objects, and try to figure out which ones look the most like they maybe are more related to what I'm thinking here, because some of them maybe are not. Maybe they all are in this Apollo group, maybe. That would be crazy. So these are like, that's what asteroids are. Oh. Okay. Potentially a hazardous object listed, blah, blah, blah. 1 in 1,800 chance of impacting Earth. Whoa, it's literally September 24th. Danger, Will Robinson, danger! 160 years from now. Holy shit. Okay, Bennu. The ancient Egyptian mythological bird. You mean like this bird? I believe they mean like they must be referring to like this bird. He thought I was going to Egypt. Nope. This bird. You know, the one with the Mount Gurnar eye. And the beak here, maybe a wings out here. Body. Also smaller, more Egyptian looking thing going on here with the beak, maybe even here. Wing here. This one looks like almost like a hummingbird. You mean like that kind of bird? The shit I find sometimes. Like the interconnectedness. It just makes me all the more interested, that's all. Like, okay. Associated with the sun, creation, and rebirth. Sun, I mean, that's photon related. I guess in some way. Not to make it like overreach it to make it related to photons. I want to look at technicals and see if there's like interesting features about it that make it like, could this reveal secrets about the photon? That's what I want to know. Like, because truly it could be a macroscopic photon. Like, dude, that we visited. We fucking landed on this already. Incredible. Incredible. Mean diameter 490 meters. That would be crazy. A fucking half a kilometer wide. You just have like a beach chair lounging. What's up, dudes? Thing is, you start melting into the center, it sounds like. Oh, it's not stable, apparently. But we'll get there sooner or later. Once I get past first chapter. Paragraph. Chapter 2. 101955 Bennu. Chapter 3. Bennu was the target. Here we are. Sample return mission. Intended to return its samples to Earth in 2023. Samples from a photon on their way to Earth right the fuck now, dudes. Oh my god. I'm so happy. Thanks, guys. Because I'm leaning towards it's probably a photon, and I can't wait to see why. But we'll see. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Pardon me. Discovery date September 11, 1999. 2 years prior discovery date. Interesting. Okay. Maybe I'll open that too. December 3rd. Arrived at Bennu after a 2-year journey. 2018. Orbited the asteroid, mapped out Bennu's surface in detail, seeking potential sample collection sites. Analysis of the orbits allowed calculation of Bennu's mass and its distribution. Yes, please. That's not. I thought that might be a scientific literature. It probably links it. This will probably actually have it. Nice. Oh my god. It's kind of like a cube. Wait. No. I guess I could check this for a second before I go away from it. Primary goal is to obtain a sample of at least 60 grams. Oh my god. Oh my god. What if it has just clear evidence that it passed through the Nadir crater? That would be fucking insane. Somehow they're able to tell it's got some characteristic materials in it that are like highly suggestive of this area of Earth, of all areas, are similar. So someone else even in some doesn't even. Well, I guess they would. Maybe they don't really even point to the crater itself. They just point to like this general area of, oh, it's similar to the makeup to the mantle underneath the Earth in this location. So, something that just connects it but doesn't like even realize yet, because I just assume no one fucking will ever listen to me. So no one even knows that this concept exists yet. That there is a further hypothesis that Bennu not just is like the impact object, but it is the impact object emitted from the Earth, and therefore would have signatures potentially suggestive of that. Anyway, that would be crazy. So maybe I'll look for an update to see when is it. It's literally Osiris. I didn't even notice like the whole Osiris, god of the deceased. Pardon me, people who are far more into Egyptian mythology than I am presently. I know it's important and filled with interesting things. I just don't understand it well enough to go look at it. That's my take. I appreciate everyone investigating the shit out of it. It's just when I look at it, I'm like, fuck, man. I'll come back to this. So I haven't enough to even be like, which is which. I know Osiris is like a major god in Egypt, but that's about as far as I can go. So the god of dead, good deceased. I was just thinking about oldest child in terms of the Bennu being a oldest emission, but it's probably not. So just the idle thought. That's not what I was even looking at though. Before I go on so many tangents. That's the reality of looking at interconnectedness. Reality. it's a lot of shit to look at. I know that's the trade-off. Is you gotta be like, this whole focused on one area has lots of benefits. Like I can learn that thing a lot, but like, and not investigate any of that other thing. That's impossible, dude. That's an insurmountable task. I'll focus here, they'll focus there. Boom. Problem solved. We'll divvy it out. Divvy it out. You do that, I'll do this. Boom. Problem solved. But the problem with that approach is when someone's mistake is in there. Like we gotta get it out, dudes. We can't just let it be. I'll defer to them, and then we'll as long as they defer to us, and then we'll defer to them for their expertise. Well, it's we'll just do our part. But like, it's so much cooler when it's the reality of this situation. Is so much cooler. It's so much cooler. It's just a lot of work to look at it all. And it's to the point where I don't know if it's feasible for anyone to do. I mean, I've done it to this degree, but like I'm approaching a lot of fucking walls. I'm just like, no. Until I work a fissure and like fucking boop, get to the heart and cause some sort of cool eruption that I really think is cool. This is just cool. It's, especially if you consider the potential that this is not erosion. Like, we assume erosion, 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 but if we realize that Mount Grenard is not caused by erosion, but is caused because it's fucking crystal. Okay. Like, this is not erosion. This is a crystal structure, crystalline structure beneath the ground that literally is this big. It starts over here and goes over here. It's like a fucking huge 60-degree angle approaching this pinnacle point. Just beep. With slopes up to it. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible and needs to be studied in depth. The underground part to see the crystalline structure more in detail, because they're just like, it's kind of anomalous. Like, it's rough. Like, they show it generally as having a 60-degree angle. They don't say that, but I just measured it, and generally, and I mean, it's not straight line also, but generally. And, you know, they also just generally describe it as being like rough, like a rough texture, like a crystal, maybe, you know, like if I look up crystals raw, not all, you know, like this kind of thing going on. Not necessarily this degree. I'm thinking more, these are too small. The big chunks like this that do it together, when they grow together. Growing together. Out of skin, interesting, like this. It really is still not like that though, more, because Mount Grenard is not like that. It's much more singular crystal, maybe like that. That's fucking amazing. Earth grows. Wow. I'm just gonna save image. Brazilian. That's just fucking epic right there. Okay. So, carbonaceous. This is another thing I've been looking into the East African rift. Oh my god. This Earth is so big. And there's a volcano here. I don't know if I can find it by just looking. Oh. No, there it is. There it is. Literally the only volcano on Earth that erupts. Uniquely produces nitrocarbonatite. Literally the only volcano on the earth that does that. That's interesting. So I saw this recently, and so I mean, that's all carbonaceous. Like, interesting. This one's got a carbon based. I wonder if there's if it's an emission from Earth, then if that is the case, then maybe that's suggestive of something relating to what the hell's going on with this volcano. This is weird. I haven't looked at this at all. That's weird. Literally the only volcano. A few older extinct carbonatite volcanoes are located nearby. Most lavas are rich in silicate minerals. Is a carbonatite rich in the rare sodium and potassium carbonates. I don't know how to say that. Very rare sodium calcium carbonate mineral. Anhydrous. Is that like without water? I can't remember. Low temperatures. So low that the molten lava appears black in sunlight. Much more fluid. Unstable at the Earth's surface and susceptible to rapid weathering, quickly turning from black to gray in color. Different from any other in the world. Nursery for the birth of several thousand calves of wildebeest. Okay, so honestly, that's interesting in terms of Bennu. If it's an emission from Earth, that was interesting to be making that connection. We gotta be able to entertain these. It's so crazy. Like that. I'm even entertaining it is offensive to people. It's absurd. It's absurd. Anyone offended that I'm entertaining the things I'm entertaining right now? It's absurd, dudes. Okay. I'm allowed to entertain. We generally, as a collective, are allowed to do these things. So anyway, back to this. Let's see. Okay, so on October 20, 2020, 10, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. 1, 2, I don't know. Spend the next several months analyzing. Okay, yeah. Okay. Wait, what? Oh my god, the date again. Where did I just see that? What the fuck? It's like they chose the same date it was most likely to hit. Which is also the day I'm looking at this. A year prior. What the fuck? Guys, reality is crazy. So thank you for your roles in it all. Because I know it's all you guys, and I'm just here along for the ride. Bennu was chosen as the target of study because it is a time capsule from the birth of the solar system, we assume. That's just generally our interpretation of these things. Absolutely. Well, yes. Primitive, unchanged, perhaps, in that way. Because of the availability of pristine carbonaceous materials. They're looking for life. That's why they're looking. I'm like, this looks like evidence for Earth emitting it potentially. If we think about this, I'm not sure why exactly Earth would prefer to emit in a carbon-based, if most of its volcanoes are not carbon-based. It's a little actually not in the favor of this. But that the Earth has this anomalous volcano, I'm still kind of leaning towards it's actually supportive, especially it's just everything. Let's just keep going. I don't want to maybe latch on this too soon, but I'm feeling it. That's all. Part of me. Part of me. Okay, I should probably read when I'm reading. I realize sometimes when I watch my video and I sit here reading that I'm not interacting, and then it's hard to tell what I'm reading. So it's actually I'm not telling you what I'm reading. So I was just reading this here, the cost of the mission, blah blah blah. It doesn't, not that important. Okay, so let's move back to the. Let's see. Gravity assist coming in hot. Okay, back to the actual asteroid. Collected a sample, secured the sample, completed its departure. Oh wow, it was there for like 6 months? Why did it take 6 months to leave? I thought it was literally like unable to land on, and they, from when I was reading it earlier, like practically had to leave immediately and grab a sample and dip the fuck out. But I guess 6 months is that speed? I don't know. Okay, discover. Yep. Linear. The way they name asteroids and things. Oh. More than 8,000 student entries. Name that asteroid. Crazy. They choose Bennu. 3rd grade student. Oh, that even looks like the fucking. Maybe not the. I was thinking this part here. No, it doesn't look so much. This doesn't look as much like the Bennu picture. It just. Let's see what else we got. With a sun disk on his head. Let me just read about this real quick. Ancient Egyptian deal. He may have been the original inspiration for the Phoenix legends. Ooh. Was a self-created being said to have played a role in the creation of the world. He was said to be the Ba of Ra, the Ba being the soul. Let's just see what the Ba is. Ba. Form of a bird with a human head. Was everything that makes an individual unique, similar to the notion of personality. Whoa. Ba of Ra. I don't know what that means. He was the personality of Ra. He was the embodiment of Ra. Like an avatar. I'm not sure. That doesn't seem like that's the same. Flown over the waters of none. Primordial watery abyss, which existed at the time of creation, from which the creator's sun god God Ra arose. Whoa. Okay. Deity was said to have flown over the waters of just the quintessence, the primordial substance, landing on a rock and issuing a call that determined the nature of creation. Landing on a rock. Issuing a call. Also was a symbol of rebirth and therefore was associated with Osiris. Some of the titles of Bennu were He Who Came Into Being by Himself and Lord of Jubilees. Jubilee is this not the same as like the debt forgiveness Jubilee? Okay. Let's see. Pyramid text date to the Old Kingdom referred to the BNW as a symbol of Adam. It may have been the original form of Bennu. A heron, but a small singing bird. Not a heron, but a small singing bird. Like a humming. Is a hummingbird a small singing bird? It's incredible. It's a fucking humming. That looks like a hummingbird. It's a little off here. Maybe it should be a little thinner here. Maybe a little bit odd here. But like, it's pretty fucking hummingbird like, if I do say so myself. Not sure if that's a small singing bird. Very much like that one. The old something surmised that this small singing bird might have been the yellow wagtail, but no clear reason is given. It generally looks like it. Not to say that bird is it, but that class of bird certainly looks like this. If this is a bird. Shout out to Echo, who talked to me about birds being there before. I don't want to not mention when people point cool things out to me. Like, I kind of was looking at it, but he was like, bird. I'm like, yeah, true. I think he was talking about. And then we started going through how there's many birds here. Anyway. Da-da-da. Do I want to keep reading this? Possible animal model. Large species. Okay. Greek historian Herodotus, writing about Egyptian customs and traditions in the 5th century BC, wrote that the people at Heliopolis described the phoenix to him. They said it lived for 500 years before dying, resuscitating, building a funerary egg with myrrh. For the paternal corpse and carrying it to the temple of the sun at Heliopolis. His description of the phoenix likens it to an eagle with a red and gold plumage, reminiscent of the sun. Phoenix fire. Pyre? Could be derived from Bennu. Okay. Phoenix fire. Okay, maybe not the worst associations with a photon. Its features will be named after birds and bird-like creatures in mythology. Cool. Roughly spheroidal. Spheroidal? Really? You're not going to give it possibly a cuboidal? Is that a word? Cuboidal. Has a roughly cuboidal shape. Yes, look, cuboidal asteroid. Bennu. Discovered in 1999, September 11th, September 24. But I don't fucking. Tilted 178 degrees to its rotation axis, 178 degrees to its orbit. The direction of rotation about its axis is retrograde with respect to its orbit. Moving that way, rotating that way. Got it. Red, gray. While the initial ground-based radar observations indicated that Bennu had a fairly smooth shape with one prominent 10 to 20 meter boulder on its surface, high-resolution data obtained by OSIRIS-REx revealed that the surface is much rougher with more than 200 boulders larger than 10 meters on the surface, the largest of which is 58 meters across. Contains veins of high albedo carbonate minerals. Not sure if carbonatites and carbonate. Let's make it more geology focused. Carbonatites are familiar to students of petroleum as rare igneous rocks formed predominantly of carbonate. Okay then. High albedo carbonate minerals, which is what this is. Where do they describe it? Lava appears black in sunlight. Not to say it's lava, but I mean, it's certainly suggestive that a black lava would maybe have a low reflection of sunlight. And also that a photon, now that I think about it, a photon, because it contains the light, it wouldn't on our, if we could observe a photon, it would probably be very dark because it's not emitting, it's containing, it's like holding, maybe. Like a photon of the Earth instance. If we could see one on this scale, I think that makes sense. It would be just, it would maybe even approach a perfect black body on our scale. Okay, let's continue. Boulders contain veins of high albedo carbonate believed to have formed prior to the formation of the asteroid due to hot water channels on the much larger parent body. (3 to 15 centimeters wide and could be over 1 meter in length. Much bigger than carbonate veins seen in meteorites. That's interesting, suggestive. So it's a meteorite is a broken off piece of debris from one of these. Which is also interesting that the veins in the smaller ones are smaller. It's like the big veins are found in the thing that's emitted from a bigger object, maybe from a parent body. Maybe that's part of why they said that, but maybe not. I don't know. There's a well-defined ridge along the equator. I guess they're talking about this. Fine-grained regolith. Blanket of unconsolidated, loose, heterogeneous, superficial deposits covering solid rock. It includes dust, broken rocks, and other related materials. So this is just like coarse grained materials. I don't know. Fine grained. Just fine grained materials accumulated. Okay. That sounds plausible to be an emission from Earth. As a photon, maybe part of it would be that it emits and then it kind of makes it cloudy, loose material. It's not like the densest emission on the outside. Maybe there's like a core object that's more dense. That is really what all this is surrounding. Okay. Observations shown Bennu is rotating faster over time, so its rotation speed is speeding up because it's such a small object in such a large field, I guess, and probably because it's a new object. It's not stable with its surroundings yet because it was just emitted, so it needs to stabilize. Oh. Due to the uneven emission of thermal radiation from its surface as Bennu rotates in sunlight, the rotation period decreases by about 1 second every 100 years. So it's pretty stable. It's not, god damn, that's the degree of measurement that they're gonna put that its rotation changes. That's incredible, but also pretty crazy. A second, 100 years on for a freaking asteroid. I wouldn't really expect it to be that continuous, that constant. I mean, that pretty much makes it sound almost stable versus, as they put it, as being changing over time. Observations of this minor planet, interesting, they call it a minor planet also, which is in line with diameter of about 500 meters, low visible geometric albedo. That's pretty low sounding, 0.046 when 0 is a black body. 1 reflects all. That's pretty low. If there's a photon out there, it would probably be like a macroscopic photon we could see. It would probably approach 0 but not be 0. So that's pretty feasible. Thermal inertia was measured, found to vary by approximately 19% during each rotational period. Wait, I don't know. Its capacity to conduct heat. I can't remember. I took thermodynamics. I'm naughty. I passed. I've done it. I've done it. Okay, yes, that's something. Anyone who's taking that shit, that's something. I mean, people who use it all the time afterwards, like, "Psh, I'm an expert in this, but that's something." Okay, let me drink my 1 a.m. coffee. Dynamic effects are prevalent. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, no. 19%. It was based on this observation scientists incorrectly estimated a moderate grain size, evenly distributed. No emission from a potential dust coma has been detected from Bennu. It kind of makes sense if it's a photon that was just emitted. Like, it would be pretty stable and not, like, have a trail of losing its material like that. That it would be stable. It would just be, the system would be in a stable equilibrium and not trailing its own matter like Mars is. Puts a limit of 10 to the 6th grams of dust within a radius. What? Oh. Oh. Uh, I was thinking they were talking about within the body, but I guess they're saying within a radius. It's significantly less dust than typically would be expected if the grain size was larger, I guess. I don't know. Observations astrometric. Have demonstrated Bennu is influenced by Yarkovsky effect. Let's just look at this. Radiation from asteroid surface 1. Okay. 2. Prograde rotating asteroid. Yep. Location with afternoon. Asteroid's orbit and radiation from sun. Okay. So more. Act is a force acting on a rotating body in space caused by. Yep. Emissions of thermal photons. Which carry momentum. Usually considered in relation to meteoroids or small asteroids. Okay. Heating a rotating object in space would cause it to experience a force that, while tiny, could lead to a large long-term effects in the orbits of small bodies. You mean like causing it to move to a orbit further out in space, like to Mars's orbit? Is that what you mean? Like that kind of effect? Oh my god. Drifted 15 kilometers from its predicted position over 12 years. Established with great precision. Okay, I'm reading again without reading aloud. Okay, that's fine. Oh, here we go. Despite these factors, one scenario to investigate to alter to alter studies effect on Bennu. Oh, okay, so they're studying its effect on Bennu. Okay. Semi-major axis of its orbit to drift on average by 300 meters a year. Analysis of the gravitational and thermal effects has given a bulk density, which is only slightly denser than water. The predicted macro porosity is 40% plus or minus 10%. Suggesting the interior has a rubble pile or even hollows. You mean like a void particle that a vortex storm on Earth caused that then was large enough to pull sufficient material with it to create a crater and then be emitted from the Earth and become this 40 plus or minus 10% macro porosity hollow object with a stable nucleus void. Wide angle shots of the northern hemisphere. That's cool. Nothing too exciting. For me, at least. Maybe someone else looks at this like, Eureka! Yielded a synodic rotation period of 4.3 hours. Rotation period 4.3 hours. B-type classification. Relatively uncommon type of carbonaceous asteroid. Spectrally blue. Outer asteroid belts. And also dominate the high inclination Pallas family. Nothing about the Apollo. Okay. Shows that Bennu belongs to the rare F subclass. Lack the water absorption feature. Indicative of hydrated minerals. And differ in the low wavelength part of the ultraviolet spectrum below 0.4. Not distinguishable. So grouped with B. Basically lack the water absorption feature of hydrated minerals. Suggestive that Bennu is perhaps low in water, no water in the minerals, low water, which does not make much sense considering they said water. They literally said water somewhere. Yeah. Due to hot water channels of the much larger parent. I wonder why they would say because it's a carbonate, but there's little water. That's interesting. So even though it required water in the formation, there's little water in the minerals. Water is usually associated with cometary features, which makes sense. Measurements over a range of phase angles showed a phase function slope 0.04 magnitudes per degree, which is similar to other near-Earth asteroids with low albedo. I don't know. Like, relative to the Earth? Are they saying like off of the plane of the Earth's orbit, maybe? Before Osiris, spectroscopy indicated a correspondence with a mere apparent body. I don't know why the correspondence with parent body. Lunar. Easiest way to correlate a meteorite with parent body is when the parent body still exists. This is the case for lunar and Martian meteorites. Samples from lunar meteorites can be compared with samples from Apollo program. I thought I was going to talk about the Apollo asteroids. Or meteorites, meteors, whatever they are, the Apollo things that Bennu is part of. Compare their albedo and spectra with other known bodies. think I might have to come back to this tomorrow and so on. This is gonna be a while. At the least, looking into this, even if it's not a photon and it's not the particle emitted from Nadir Crater, as much as I want it to be, even if it's not, it's good to research all this. So I'm still learning a lot of things, which I would recommend in regard to my own research, even if it's not. You still would be doing the similar thing where you're seeing things like it's similarly mentioned. Yeah, that's interesting, and maybe his theory's all fucking absurd and fuck this guy. But thanks for referencing this to me. I had not heard of that. I'm pretty happy about that. Including carbonaceous mineral magnetite. Prominent water product, but destroyed by heat, is an important proxy of astronomers, including OSIRIS-REx staff. Predicted beforehand, then stated that Bennu is water-rich, already detectable, while OSIRIS-REx was still technically an approach. Preliminary spectroscopic surveys confirmed magnetite and the meteorite-asteroid linkage, dominated by phyllosilicates. Bennu's water spectra were detectable on approach, reviewed by outside scientists, then confirmed from orbit. Okay, that makes more sense to me. That makes more sense to me. I was like, what the fuck? There's no water here? What the fuck, dude? How is there not water? Like, on top of that, they're saying, like, it's... Like, what I'm thinking, like, there should be water there, but they're saying... hot water channels, like, like that was so weird. That why would they put it in the F class then, the subclass? I guess indicative of hydrated minerals. Like, isn't that fucking? I guess it's the mineral has to be like internally hydrated in some way that it's not, so that it's an F subclass while still the spectra shows water. 7 times 10 to the 8 kilograms in one form alone, neglecting additional forms. About 1% and potentially much more. In turn, this suggests transient pockets of water beneath Bennu's regolith. The superficial water may be lost from the collected samples. However, if the sample return capsule maintains low pressures, the largest centimeter scale fragments may contain measurable quantities of absorbed water. Bennu is an active asteroid, sporadically emitting plumes of particles. Does a photon do that? Rocks as large as... That's crazy. It's emitting. It's literally like a... like it has a microcosmic functions of Earth, but... that makes it all the more likely to be tied to Earth. Thermal fracturing. This is like because this fucking void at the center is formed. It's like a literal nucleus, stable particle on a different scale, but it's ether, subtle ether particles that make up a larger particle, maybe. highly possible there's like a stable ether core that effectively causes outward pressures because it's not that stable. It still like wants to break down. So it has some emissions maybe. That would make sense. Rocks as large as and just that it does this emits a rock as large as 10 centimeters, 500 meters wide, emitting a rock as large as 10 centimeters. Bennu asteroid radius. Is it radius? Earth radius feet. It's got a 21 million foot radius. Let's put it in centimeters. Okay. It emits 10 centimeter rocks as large as 10 centimeters. So about one. I wish it didn't do that. 26250 time, or no, 25 times Earth. Oh yeah, radius of the Earth, 21 million. Let's just say 21.008 times 8,000 inches. Is there feet? What the hell was I measuring in? I don't fucking know. It can release based on my rigorous calculations I just made that were terrible and not in any way making sense. What the fuck, man? 10 centimeters. Not this. 10 centimeters and I mean it's like 1/5000th. 1/5000th is this 1/5000th of Earth. Times 500 meters. $2.5 million meters. What's the diameter of Earth? Meters. Meters. 12.7. So it's certainly in that area, right? What was I doing? Pushing Earth's upper limits, maybe. If let's say it can do 1/5000th of its radius, then it can do about 4 times Bennu's size. Just based on on a more equilibrium state. Because Earth expanded. I don't think Bennu is expanding while it's doing this. But maybe it is within itself, and the outer layers are not as, it's not as clear out there. Okay, where was I? Bennu Astro. Okay. Maybe dormant comets. B-type asteroids displaying a blue color in particular, maybe dormant comets. The comet designation would be blah 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 blah. Asteroid Bennu particle ejection events. I mean, they're literally talking about the same thing, just on a different scale to what I'm saying. So even though it sounds ridiculous, the Earth emitted particles. It's the same fucking thing that just right there. They literally, the same object is doing it. Does some of them come back and collide with it? Yep. Oh shit. See, like, we could have that happen. See, it collides. Where some of our impacts are objects that got shot up and fucking came back. So there are, like, impact craters, maybe, that are not so geometrically arranged to make it look more randomly scattered, because they are actually, and more like impacts happen because that's an impact, that one. Like maybe the one in Arizona is more one from the sky that dropped back down. I don't know. Just some thoughts popping in my mind after seeing that. This kind of confirms to me that yeah, they could probably come back. They could probably not shoot off far enough to truly have the escape velocity to break Earth's gravity and get out into the free space where its influence is not overwhelming. That's really the key. Like Bennu, maybe only the bigger ones can escape. The smaller ones don't have enough energy to escape. So they just came back and hit the Earth and created craters. All geological features named blah. First features to be named were the final 4 candidate OSIRIS-REx sample sites, which were given unofficial names by the team in August 2019. Announced the first official names. Craters, Dorsa Ridges, Fossa, Saxa. Abundant fine-grained material with a large variation in color, primary sample collection site, Nightingale. This one. This is where they got material from, or wanted to, I guess, because it says backup. Low albedo patch with a large variety of rocks. It's literally a crater. But is it from an emission? Is that from an emission? After a year of mapping Bennu's surface, nice, a target site was announced. Bennu. Look at that, a bunch of craters. Bunch of craters. Narrated tour.
In December 2018, after traveling for 2 years, 101 days, and over 1.2 billion miles, NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft arrived at its target, near-Earth asteroid Bennu. OSIRIS-REx is the first mission to explore this primitive remnant from the origins of the solar system, designed to study the asteroid and return a sample to Earth. Bennu is a dark, diminutive world, roughly the height of a skyscraper, and now the smallest body to be orbited by a spacecraft. Prior to arrival, it was known to have low thermal inertia, a characteristic of fine-grained materials like sand. An infrared spectrometer on OSIRIS-REx confirmed this property, leading scientists to expect a predominantly smooth surface. But the first close-up views of Bennu delivered a major surprise. In exquisite detail, the mission's cameras revealed an unrelenting rockscape dominated by boulders. By combining these images from OSIRIS-REx with its laser altimetry data, we can take a tour of Bennu's remarkable terrain.
Dominated by boulders. It makes me think of, like, big systems in the Earth's crust that are so big that they would be equivalent to how the Earth's crust is dominated by boulders. They're not boulders anymore, they're cratons.
First stop is Simurgh Saxum. This prominent boulder defines the asteroid's prime meridian and serves as the basis of its coordinate system. In Persian mythology, the Simurgh is a large and benevolent bird and the possessor of all knowledge. Saxum is Latin for stone. To the northeast lies the largest boulder on Bennu. Measuring over 300 feet in length, Rock Saxum is a colossus longer than a football field. It is also rich in a type of iron oxide called magnetite, which was used by mariners as an early form.
Iron oxide. It's another sign if there's iron. Also, there's magnetite at Gurnar.
Of magnetic compass. In Arab folklore, the rock is an enormous bird of prey that can clasp elephants in its talons, as well as stranded sailors, like the hero Sinbad. Continuing northeast over the equatorial ridge, we arrive at Gargoyle Saxum. This striking boulder is among the darkest on Bennu, though it clutches a much brighter rock that is about the size of a person. In medieval legend, gargoyles are dragon-like, winged monsters that can breathe fire and that guard cathedrals from evil spirits. Our next destination takes us far to the east. At the northern end of a small crater lies Ocypete Saxum, a comparatively bright boulder measuring about 33 feet in diameter. Ocypete Saxum is located near one of 3 sites where Bennu ejected small particles into space in early 2019, displaying its dynamic and evolving nature. In Greek mythology, Ocypete is one of the 3 harpies, the half-maiden, half-bird personifications of storm winds, who would carry evildoers away from the earth. In the creation stories of ancient Egypt, the universe began as a formless, endless expanse of water. From this primordial sea arose the primordial mound, Benben. It was upon this rock that the god Atum settled in the form of the Bennu bird and sent forth the call that shaped creation. The story of Benben harkens to the mounds of fertile silt that once emerged from the receding floodwaters of the Nile, and it provides a fitting namesake for the tallest boulder on Bennu. Protruding by over 70 feet, Benben Saxum is so tall that it was first detected from Earth. Now, we can appreciate this monumental feature in detail using data from OSIRIS-REx. The final stop on our tour is a cluster of exceptionally bright boulders scattered across the southern hemisphere. They bear the spectral fingerprint of pyroxene, a mineral found in igneous rock that is unlikely to have formed on Bennu. These boulders most likely originated on the large asteroid Vesta and were delivered to Bennu's parent body through meteoroid impacts. Although it is small in size, asteroid Bennu has proved to be a fascinating world, abundant in geographic features that have defied our expectations. Thanks to OSIRIS-REx, we can now explore Bennu to uncover its composition, its evolution, and its ancient memories from the origins of the solar system.
Okay. Interesting. Really, let's check this out. Oh, this is 5 minutes, so. Bennu is an ancient, rugged survivor of the solar system's chaotic past that may hold clues to the origins of life. I don't know why the sound's not. I don't feel like it. No sound, man. Okay. Bunch of locations, which would be cool to look into further for sure. They just did a bunch of birds across all mythology, I see, not just Egyptian. Tolkien's Middle Earth. Nice. I was watching the Rings of Power. That shit's solid. Good job, guys. I know a lot of people hate on it for any modern day insertions of certain beliefs into the storyline, but it's fucking well done. So, and I really don't see that much of it. Maybe subtle amounts, but it's not overwhelming amounts like they frequently do. We're just out of control. It's like, dudes, you guys are obviously like someone's paying someone to fucking. Hey, this story's great, but could you add in this one part here? Maybe blah 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 blah. Like, oh my god, dude. Sir, yes, sir. Fine. I'll fucking write your bullshit in. I get it. We shake each other's hands, pretend like nothing's happening. We're trying to spray some propaganda, and then they caught us, so maybe we should back it off a little bit. So they reduced it, maybe? I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. Really don't think it's that bad, propaganda-wise. A lot of things are like, holy shit, dude. That line right there. That was just like straight inserted propaganda. Like someone read the script, was like, let me add this line right here. It doesn't even fit that well. But hey. Origin and evolution. Came from the breakup of a much larger parent body. Or just from a much larger parent body. They assume breakup, but they literally show this happening here, which is important, where it shoots off particles. Like, hello? Earth maybe could do it too. So it doesn't have to be from the breakup of, it could just be an emission from. But like nearly all other matter in the solar system, the origins of its minerals and atoms are to be found in dying star. Blah, blah, if you say so. Bennu's basic mineralogy and chemical nature would have been established during the first 10 million years of the solar system's formation. Underwent some geological heating and chemical transformation inside a much larger planetoid or protoplanet capable of producing the requisite pressure, heat, and hydration, if need be, into more complex minerals. You mean like Earth? Pardon me. What was that? Nothing. I'm gonna head out here soon. It is 2 a.m. Just in time to smoke some weed. Oh my god. What am I doing? Anyway, pardon me. Pardon me. I was watching that clip, 5-minute clip. Oh, convenient. I'll let this play. Underwent some geologic heat and chemical. Why would you say it probably began in the inner asteroid belt? Okay, initially, honestly, I thought they said it inner, like Mercury kind of range. But I mean, even in inner asteroid belt, why would they? It's the larger from a larger body with a diameter of. Okay, so now we're getting to some 100 kilometers. 70% chance. Okay, this is one of those rough patches where they got some conclusions that are really just probably firmly established conclusions, but not firmly. Like, they literally haven't even gotten the rocks back yet. But maybe if this is an emission from Earth, then the Polana family is also suggestive of something. This is so much more information than I thought I'd have to really get into, even start to consider this. Even start to even begin to be like, could this be possible? I'd have to really fuck it, because asteroids kind of boring to me. Honestly, I've always just found them boring. Now, I think this makes them less boring. The potential that this could be a photon makes it less boring. So it makes me more interested and more drawn to this. Because when they're just on this plane of existence, planets, stars, way cooler black holes, way cooler vast expanses of the cosmos, systems that form like stable spheres like Earth. I'm way fucking cooler than asteroids. I've always been like, why are asteroids even something someone's drawn to research? Like, if I was a researcher of those things by career choice, by funding and everything, I mean, I don't think I would be like asteroids. I'd be like cosmology or stars, supernovas. I don't know, something. Literally, that's the thing. Literally, anything else is more interesting on the surface than asteroids in my perception. And in the solar system, I mean, that's as far as we're going to consider. Like, at that point, we gotta go outside into the Milky Way, at least. Somewhere further than asteroids. That this gives me at least which is cool about this way of doing things, is it gives me, which is why I think it's the appropriate way to learn, is it gives me an avenue in. Like, I'm interested now. I don't need some fucking whip telling me to learn about asteroids. In the past, I would have. I'm like, dude, there's so much other shit than asteroids. Like, come on. That's asteroid shit. Now I'm like, I could learn a bit. I could learn a bit. Okay. Maybe. Because, I mean, if it's so, it's. Who knows what it could unlock? So it's worth the investigation. Anyone who thinks otherwise, fucking just being an unthought out me. You didn't think it through yet. This part, I know I didn't think some other things through that you thought through. That's fair, but doesn't mean that people have considered if this is a photon. Like, technically considered, like, looked through the evidence and really considered it. Like, I don't think that's happened. That's why I'm doing it right now. Sure, I do it my own way, but partly, like, I found, like, this to be a good probability of something I could potentially be like, oh, that's actually the fucking case after the fact. Yeah, I started out thinking it that way and ended up being like, yeah, after the fact, it's still pretty firmly established in my mind that it could be a photon. It's not anything about it that said necessarily otherwise, and there's certainly things that at least were suggestive enough. This is maybe something that says otherwise, like here, making it more like it's an asteroid belt object, because in the past, since they're tying it to the asteroid belt, I would say the way I interpreted the asteroid belt, because I translated my own way, is, like I said earlier, Mercury supernovas becomes Venus, Venus becomes Earth, Earth becomes Mars, Mars becomes Ceres, and Ceres becomes part of the asteroid belt, and there's just fills with asteroid belt stuff over time. But maybe that's not what's going on quite so much, and maybe the asteroid belt is more. There's more details that I'm just not filling in whatsoever with that analysis that can be more explained, more accurately explained by Earth photon emission. We'll see. There's only one way to find out. There's only one way to find out. And it's one of those things where it almost needs ironed over. Like, so even if someone's like well educated in these things, and they come across the idea of a photon, Bennu's a photon, I start publishing it. I get so convinced it's like my next my next Mount Gernard equivalent topic. Okay, Bennu is a photon. And I already thought about it seeing the lights, something of that nature, calling it some fun play on words, is suggestive of that it's helping to see some truth and all, see the light, but also, it's a fucking photon. Like, that would be a great title. So, I'm already like, maybe. Just in hopefulness. Meanwhile, September 20th. What is going on with this date? Period of 1.2 years. Interesting. I feel like a photon would probably move way faster than. Although. I think electrons can move pretty much the speed of light. Right? I might be mistaken. I mean, that's pretty much how it goes. I'm just not sure if it's a subtlety where it's not quite the electron, but it's like a more subtle current that's doing it, and the electrons are not themselves. I'm not quite sure. But, I mean, if the electron can generally move pretty close to the speed of light, and a photon is emitted by an electron, then maybe their speeds aren't that completely dissimilar to the point where Earth's velocity and so on can be similar, where Bennu isn't moving ridiculously fast to the point where it's substantially faster than Earth's velocity. Although it does go out further, so it may actually move at a larger velocity, even though a slower period. I'm not sure. Or very similar. It'd be interesting if it was like the same fucking velocity as Earth. Like there's a group of asteroids that all are kind of moving at the same velocity as Earth. Kind of like because they were emitted from Earth. Something. Oh. Past 0.0147. 6 years later, next close approach, September 30th, 2054, then 23rd, 2060. This is when Newton said the second coming, based on calculations. Although I think he also said different times in this general time frame. But certainly 2060 was one of the years. Terms of orbits during the close approach. Earth completes 61 orbits, Bennu 51. 0.0014. I wonder if they even bothered to consider if it would have hit Mars. I'm not completely sure that we would know if its trajectory happened to align with Mars's, just because maybe we never considered it. Like they're literally not, there's no discussion of its possible chance of hitting Mars, even though it overlaps Mars pretty well. I mean, it's possible, right? It could hit Mars, it could not hit Venus. Venus is not in any way. But it could hit Mars. It sure looks like it, to not even consider it at all. Either it's literally so improbable that they don't even mention it, or they just haven't considered it. But that would be interesting if it had a similar chance of hitting Mars. Like it's about to hit Mars right now. I Google it. Let's see what's going on. Zero Hedge will tell me. Bennu Asteroid Bennu hits Mars. U.S. empire is accelerating towards global conflict. Dudes, shit's about to hit the fan like crazy, dudes. Oh my god. Sidebar. Side notes. Would require a detailed. They can't even tell if it would or would not impact without knowing the exact shape and like taking in that degree of detail. That to me is strongly, again, it's strongly suggestive that the Earth emitted it because it's just continuously coming back to the Earth but not hitting it. Like, like that's fucking suggestive that there was a time they were together and very much together. It emitted it, and then it basically went out and then maybe just kind of stayed in an orbit, and then it just repeatedly comes back to its proximal to the point where it looks like it's returning a lot. Like, this is crazy how many potential impacts. Okay, let's move past potential impacts of it. Meteor shower. Pogo sticked off while successfully collecting a sample. In Utah on September 24th. Yeah. On blah blah blah, completed his final flyover. Oh, I see. So it just landed, pogo sticked off. It just bounced off. Collected a sample, and then kind of hung out for a bit. And then, is on its way back. Okay. So many things I would have to look at maybe before I totally stop recording right now. I'll just quickly take a glance at this because I would basically see if there's any like that. Most physicists were reluctant to accept. Stop it, dude. Stop. Oh my god. There's the top of Mount Grenard, looking like a Feynman diagram. Doop, 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 doop. Boom. It even has little mountain ridges. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, only 4. There's 5 to several more even peaks named on Grenard. 5 main. And then after that, I've heard several names, at least 7 total. So maybe not several additional. I'm sure there's several additional, but maybe not named. Okay. I can't read this right now. But that alone, this alone, the concept of this like excited electron emitting a photon. Seems possibly related. I mean, it would essentially have to like shed some light on things where like the photon passes through the electrons. It's not like an electron emits a photon, but the electron emits it. This one grabs it, then it emits it, grabs it. But it just like passes along electrons maybe until it literally exits the solar system as a whole, and then it's more like an emitted electron. Even the whole time until then, it's as if the electron or the photon was never emitted at all, because it was still within the like cloud, the electron cloud of the atom, but slowly moving outward and jumping to different electrons, causing excited state along the way, like a ripple. Who knows? Okay. Wow. It's been fun. Thanks for hanging out. Till next time. Peace out.